in the lead up to England putting India into bat was what the average score was at Adelaide. And Ross is saying in the chat that the sound's not coming through on YouTube. So I'm going to pause my intro.
It's coming on now.
It's coming through now. Thank you. I'll go back to the start and we'll forget any of that just ever happened. The average score was.
Well, now we can hear someone on YouTube.
Now I can hear myself.
Yeah.
Great. Anyway, where were we? So, yeah, all the talk before the game, after England had won the toss and put India's bat, was about what the average score is at Adelaide. A lot of people talking about, it's about 165 is the average score. And would India be able to get that or surpass that, which I always thought was a little confusing because average scores don't really consider the fact that you've got two of the best batting lineups supposedly in the world about to face off. But anyway, we'll get to that bit. England started pretty well with the ball. It was tight in the power play. Ended, was it about 38 for 1? India after the power play never really got going. Kohli building slowly, waiting. We were waiting for the explosion at the end. Sky came and went. Adil Rashid bowled beautifully. And we were wondering at one point, with 5 overs to go, was this going to be much of a score from India at all? But enter Hardik Pandya, who smashed the ball to all parts with 4 overs to go and gave England something that people thought might be a bit of a challenging chase, given the state of play of the tournament so far, where 160 has been a pretty good score. Enter Alex Hales and Josh Buttler. And exits Alex Hales and Josh Buttler because they absolutely destroyed India with the bat. It was a stunning performance. India got their lines wrong straight away. Bhuvi's opening over was a bit of a sign of things to come, really. Not being able to utilize any swing. It meant that Axar had to come in and bowl sooner. Couldn't tie England down with the spinners. And really, England never looked back. They just took it away from India. And it was a stunning performance from the openers. England chasing it down with 4 overs left, 10 wickets in hand, and England's highest chase without losing a wicket.
Ross, since you've been waiting all day, or you've changed your whole day to talk about this, do you want to get your emotions off your chest right now?
I do, and they are much more considered than I thought they'd be in this. This was an unbelievable performance for England. Like, completely what kind of the prophecy was telling around what England were trying to do, right? That they would try and protect their relatively bad bowling overall, and then just batter anyone and score more one goal than you, kind of Ozzy Ardiles, Tottenham Hotspur style. And today it was one of those things where whatever India would have done, whichever team they would have put out or anything like that, I just think they were in the wrong place, wrong time. This was a juggernaut just coming to fruition at the right time. And yeah, poor India, but there's not much you can do about it. The meltdown is a polite way of putting it on our Discord channel of some of our Indian fans. Beautiful to see.
And Dan, you're the person we've not heard from yet. I just want to reiterate, if there are people on YouTube who don't understand why Max and I are wearing old school England shirts, it's a joke. We don't. Anyway, I'm worried that didn't.
I'm not going to put it on for the Football World Cup.
Yeah,
so
yeah, exactly.
Dan,
Dad, what did you think of the cricket?
Well, I mean, I don't know where to start. I mean, I could talk for half an hour or more, and I'm sure you don't want anyone want me to do that. So, England, mediocre to average with the ball, I would say. 6 out of 10. Odd a lot of slot, but maybe the ground dimensions made them want to go a bit fuller than kind of the bang it in approach that we might have seen in other matches. But obviously batting, I mean, if you could give more than 10 out of 10, you would, wouldn't you? It was quite incredible.
It was 11 a reef, wasn't it? This was 11 a reef.
It was, and it was actually really 11 a reef. it was a shame that one player had to get man of the match, really, because two of them both deserved it, really.
Chris Jordan and who's the other?
But no, in all seriousness, I do think that this has some extremely valid questions. This represents some valid questions that need to be asked of the India think tank, the India playing pool, and ultimately the decision to prevent Indian players from playing in overseas T20 franchise leagues?
I think they're all valid points. I think we'll get on to them. Let's talk through the game a little bit, as Max and I did yesterday. We'll do some of the big beats from the contest. England won the toss, decided to stick India in. Every team that has won the toss at the World Cup in Adelaide has lost the match. Not lost the toss because they won the toss. So I don't know. Maybe Butler was hoping not to win that. He sticks India in, and it seems like it's a pretty good choice early up. KL Rahul, King legend. There's an amazing split of his stats for the World Cup. I don't know if you guys have seen it, showing his performance against like the teams which are good and the teams which are not good. I think he's averaging like 10 with a strike rate of 70 against the best 6 teams. And a strike rate of 155 and an average of 50 against the 5 sort of worst teams. It's a proper King legend performance, actually, that, isn't it? He goes for 5. Chris Woakes picking up the early wicket. And then we have a period of, well, I don't know if I want to call it rebuilding. You don't normally rebuild after losing 1 wicket. But Sharma and Kohli sort of knocked it around for quite a long time.
Platform setting?
Platform setting. Rohit eventually put himself out of his misery. Or should I say Jordan put him out of his misery. Call it as you like. And Sky comes in. And this is the first big battle. This is what we were talking about on Sunday when we were previewing the game. We were saying we want to see Surya Kumar Yadav v Wood. As it happens, Wood isn't around. Surya Kumar Yadav doesn't even have Wood to deal with. Takes 10 off of Ben Stokes over, including a big top edge. I swear he's got the best top edge in world cricket. People don't talk about that enough, but it's...
Did you hear that on the comms though?
What?
On comms, so he hit a 6, which literally went over his head over the keeper.
He's managed to hit it so fine because there's 4 men out on the leg side.
And Harsha and Shane Watson were just like, this guy's just got so much talent. Just like it's all well and good arse-licking someone who you absolutely love, fine. But Jesus Christ,
he is far and away the best batter in the world. If anyone could deliberately hit it there,
you're
it
on
would be him.
with millions of people watching. You're just like, that's an unbelievably good cricket shot. It's not. It fundamentally isn't. But never mind.
Okay, well that's Ross's rant number 1.
Cricketing view over here.
He's then out. Surya Kumar Yadav is out to Adil Rashid. I mean, we were saying earlier in the tournament that Adil Rashid has taken, what was it? He'd taken 3 wickets in 10 T20Is at one point, saving it up to take this wicket, which is worth 10 wickets of normal cricket. Dad, how much of a game changer do you think it was for India losing Surya Kumar Yadav without him making much of an impact on the match?
It's absolutely huge, and you know he's been. I mean, with some knocks from Kohli, borderline acceptable strike rate aside, he's been the only player who's shown any impetus in this India team throughout the World Cup, and you know the ability to score big runs at a high strike rate. So, I mean, 10 wickets. It sounds about right because it was a huge.
It was. That brings Hardik to the crease, and Kohli sort of starts to wake up a little bit with Hardik there. I don't think they talked earlier after the Pakistan game. Kohli had said that he might bat with Hardik because Hardik gave him the belief. And India did pick it up. It looked at one point in our Discord, which you can join, patreon.com/thecricketpod. There are lots of India fans very disappointed, distraught at the prospect of India ending on 130 or something like that. But they did get going, and Hardik in particular really took it to the England team, didn't he, Max? 63 off 33 for him. Why has he decided to do that now? Why did he do that to England?
Because it was quite a good pitch, and the square boundaries were quite short. It was pretty much made for, it was made for attacking batting. It's a shame it took 16 overs for India to realise this, and that's it's Hardik Pandya's covered over, basically covered some cracks in the way India approached this game. Really, I mean, Curran and Jordan took a bit of tap at the end. I think Chris Jordan in his post-match comments was saying he didn't think they did too much wrong, and some of them were decent balls which were just disappearing, which I think is borderline fair, to be honest. I think they did, like Chris Jordan came in, first game of the tournament. He did a reasonable job considering. Hardik Pandya was on form. He was on one. Some of those shots were fantastic, and it happens at the end of the game when you have to go for it. It was a decent pitch, like I said. The dimensions were there to do it, and it came off for Hardik Pandya. It's just a shame for India that they didn't try and do that a little bit earlier, because if they had, then they'd have probably scored 180, 190, and it would have been England would have needed another 2 overs to do it.
So yeah, India end up with 168. And I think there's a couple of factors in this that I'd like to talk about in a bit more detail. One is, and we sort of knew this was a problem for India, but other teams hadn't necessarily exploited it, was that England really did a number on them with Livingstone and to a much greater extent, to be honest, Adil Rashid bowling and restricting the right-handed batters. They picked Rishabh Pant for this match, Dan, as I think you predicted they would. Did they use him in a slightly sort of weird way all the way down the order when perhaps they could have done something to disrupt the England flow when it was clear what the England game plan was?
Yeah, 100%. So, I mean, if you've got a team of right-handers and you've got a very good left-hander in it, you don't bat him at number 6. You want left-right combos. And obviously they weren't alive to that at all. Now it's interesting because I want to kind of go on to a broader point. And I don't know if anyone saw my mega thread that I did on Twitter yesterday about the tactics battle for this match. Well, I started to realise that I think that Rohit Sharma is a very, very regimented captain, shall we say. So he likes to have a very similar bowling distribution for all matches. In fact, the last 2 matches which were completed, he bowled exactly the same bowlers in the first 10 overs of both games. Which is like, I do this bowling distribution stuff a lot when I'm working for teams, and you never see that. You never ever see that. Probably the most predictable thing you get will be like Zad and Brave. If they're fully fit, they'll bowl like Mills and Jordan 17, 18, 19 and 20, but in some way, shape or form. That's probably the most predictable thing you'll ever see, and that's fine.
Jadeja bowling the 7th over.
but you don't see, like, it's almost like he's got a script, like a template that he goes to. And so, because
I used to do that when I captained the under-13s.
and so because of that, I think there's like a kind of a reticence to use Pant in more of a kind of a disruptor role, a match-up breaker role, and which I feel is like kind of the next level in terms of the tactical battle. And I feel like that he was very, very lacking in that tactical battle. And further to that point, he obviously likes to keep Arshdeep Singh back for 2 overs at the death, when actually maybe Arshdeep, they should have thrown the ball to him earlier on in England's innings and say, okay, well, we're going to have to try and front load you and take the risk, because otherwise you're not going to get a chance to bowl your last 2 overs, which is exactly what happened. So, for me, that shows like a kind of, like I say, a very, very regimented tactic that Rohit's applying, and certainly something that I feel like needs to evolve significantly. I mean, if I'm sitting in a house in the northeast of England working this stuff out, I mean, like, I would like to think that other professional cricket teams can work this stuff out too, although it's not given. And
here's the prince that was promised, though, Dan. So you have to remember that all the clamour was for Rohit to be the white ball captain, be the Test captain. I know, but the clamour around kind of a load of India fans were sitting there going, Rohit is the guy. He's a great thinker. He's led Mumbai to all of these titles. He has to be kind of at the front and centre of what has happened in terms of Indian T20 cricket. And it's not really paid off in this tournament.
Well, Mumbai won tournaments because they were the best team. I don't think there's any scenario where like the captain would have made a massive impact. It's no different to like Matthew Mott has come to the England head coach job, winning goodness knows how many trophies with Australia women. Well, Australia women are so much better than everybody else. Like, my mum could probably be coach of them, and she still win all the trophies as well. What I'm trying to say is that just because someone who's in charge of a team wins trophies, it doesn't make them good at their job. They might be really good at their job, but the real point is we don't know if they're really good at their job. And I think that Rohit now, with the regimented tactics that he's been adopting in this tournament shows that maybe he's not the right man for the job.
Ross, a couple of other men that might not be the right men for the job: King legend, Sharma, and maybe to a lesser extent Kohli. What I want to ask here, so after the game, this is a question with a quote included in it. After the game, Rohit did the post-match interview, and he actually said this. Well, he said this. He thought we still batted pretty well at the back end to get that score, and we were not good enough with the ball. It was definitely not a wicket where a team can come and chase it down in 16 overs. With the ball, we didn't turn up. Basically saying that the bowlers were the problem here, and it wasn't the batting. My take on this, and I'd be interested to hear your thoughts, was that that's quite wrong. They did do well at the back end of the innings, but they did very well in the last sort of 4 or 5 overs. But they didn't do well at all for the first 10 at least. In fact, I think at one point, Knackle, friend of the show, Knackle, tweeted out, there's 2 side-by-side scores. It was England 41 for none at the end of the 4th over, India 41 for 1 at the end of the 8th. How much of this is he to blame for? And I suppose to a lesser extent Kohli, and perhaps to a lesser extent King legend.
Yeah, so from my perspective, I think in cricket, it's built on elitism in my head. And I think batters are top of the tree when it comes to this. And it's always so easy to talk down to the bowling unit in that regard. I think Rohit Sharma got it wrong in terms of how he read the pitch, how the Indian team set up for this match, which he's going to have, as Dan said, quite a regimented view on, and he'll have quite a lot of control over that with the coach. I think out of this, KL Rahul's had a terrible tournament by any stretch of the imagination. Rohit Sharma, we talked about 12 months ago that he's on the decline as a T20 player, and everything that we've talked about, it's quite nice. Everything we've talked about for the last kind of 2 years on this is that this India lineup, they've got so many Ferraris in the garage that they're just not using, and the makeup of that top order today, I think, just didn't do what they needed it to do, and that is they've only got
Ferraris. They've got Ferraris in the garage because they've got Ferraris that should be in the garage, but they should be picking a Lexus that's brand new rather than a Ferrari that's got 200,000 miles on the clock and needs
Clutch is gone.
That's how I would interpret it.
They've got a Lamborghini Countach, haven't they? And it's just keep it in the garage. That's why you need to keep that replica. Relic, sorry.
Rohit Sharma's clutch is gone and he's stuck in first gear forever.
Exactly.
Yeah. And you look at it, you need selflessness at the top of the order. And you saw that today. Alex Hales didn't come out and be this you know what, I'm going to hit nearly 100 runs today and it's going to be really good for my orange cap fantasy or whatever it is. He went out with just I need to go out and hit as many runs in the power play to try and take this game on. And so did Butler. It was both let's go out with intent and let's break the back of this chase so we don't put ourselves in a position like we were against Sri Lanka, right? And they absolutely nailed it. Pressure on Bhuvi from the first over. Bhuvi's got an unbelievably good record against Josh Butler as well. Bhuvi has been an England destroyer in some aspects. And today, England's approach, ideology was just so much better than ODI-style T20 cricket from India that we saw today.
Max, I want you to go in hard on the India top order as well. Yeah. Of the
2-footed in your England top.
Of the 16 teams in the T20 World Cup, do you know where India rank in terms of run rate in the first 6 overs?
Oh, they're the worst, aren't they?
They're not the worst. They're not
the worst of the top nations. No, actually, Pakistan are probably.
No. They are second worst of all 16 teams in the tournament.
Of all 16 teams.
The only team below them, and they're not doing very well here. The UAE 4.7. Their run rate in the first 6 overs.
In the group stage as well.
Of the whole tournament, India are the second worst team in the power play in terms of runs scored with the bat. They strike at basically bang on 100. Their economy rate with the bat in the first.
That's exactly what they did today.
6.02.
Strike rates don't matter.
Yeah, well, do you want to know? I mean, it's an interesting one. We'll get onto England and how good they were in a second. But a lot of the really good talking points are from the first innings here. England top of the tree. They're 8.6 in the power play. So assuming average conditions, England have got a 15-run head start by the end of the power play. That's nuts.
Yeah.
That is a nuts.
It's
difference.
astounding. It's absolutely astounding, and it's bizarre to me because I thought we'd sort of turned a corner with India in the way they approach T20s, that they'd kind of worked out actually that going fast is a way to do it. They'd sort of mentioned the sort of a new way of playing, and they've completely regressed to 2007 T20 cricket. And it is bizarre when you mentioned the guys that they've got that could come in, and I think there's going to have to be some sort of reassessment of what they want to do and how they want to approach this. And I think it involves a completely new opening partnership, to be honest. Kohli can stay there because like that's a role that is still important.
Good narrative vibes.
But it's like I just can't, they've got Prithvi Shaw, for example. They've got guys who are literally specialists at scoring quickly in the power play and getting you off to a fast start. And again, we saw a case of like England were faced with a chase that potentially could have been tricky, and they took all danger out of it with that start. And in
the context of this World Cup, it was a really tricky chase, wasn't it? Right, and that total for what we've seen in this tournament, that was been a tricky total, but we've obliterated it. Max, on your point, Star Sports put up that until this World Cup, for the T20s between the last World Cup and this World Cup, India had scored at 8.6 in the power play. So that bit you're talking around turning the corner, definitely there. In the power play this year, the World Cup has been 6. So that regression or reversion to the mean of shit cricket, unfortunately, happened.
It has been harder. It should be mentioned that it has been harder this World Cup to play in the power play. We have seen that, but I think possibly India got a bit stuck in that thinking today. But I think the pitch thing's quite interesting because there was a lot of like chatter beforehand about how Virat Kohli had never been out on a T20 in the 2 times he played at Adelaide. He scored 100 and first Test 100 at Adelaide. He loves Adelaide. He's got a ridiculous average of like 75 across all formats there, which would make you think that maybe he's the kind of guy that should say, well, actually, I know that this is quite a nice place to bat, so perhaps we should go get it slightly harder than normal. Because then you listen to Alex Hales' press conference afterwards, and he was saying like, I love Adelaide. It's a great place to bat. It comes on fairly quickly. It's really nice. It's got the short square boundaries. I have a lot of fun. I love batting here, and it's just like 2 guys who've got experience at this ground. Shane Watson on comms from the start was saying it's going to be lovely to bat. It's really nice to bat here. I don't understand why no one's sort of taken that thinking into account. It just doesn't make sense, and it's cost them a chance. I mean, even if the likelihood is if England were in this form, it doesn't matter what India would have put up. I think England would have chased it down with the way they were playing. But they didn't give themselves the best chance of making that tricky. If they put 190 on the board, maybe the pressure means that Alex Hales and Josh Buttler don't start like that. And then the game's on.
Dan, it sounded like you had a point to make.
Yeah. First of all, the Kohli innings at Adelaide. If you offer England 50 or 40 for his runs before the match, they'll probably take it.
I think they bite your hand off.
Yeah, and that's not... So that 50 should not be interpreted as in any form of success at all. And also, you talk about the 15-run gap in the power play between India and England. Now, I think that all of us, for all of the criticism that we've given KL Rahul over the years, we would all agree, sitting here right now, that this guy, the reason why we do it is because this guy is so talented and he just so underperforms.
It's based out of frustration.
Yeah. So it's not a talent issue, it's a mentality issue. And those 15 runs, that's a voluntary giving to the opposition as an edge, Why would you do that? That's like probably more than the average margin for a competitive T20 match, Like, it's the equivalent of a football team kicking off, passing around a back four and the centre-back going spanking one in his own net and saying, okay, lads, let's go now. Like, why would you do that? Like, it's a voluntarily giving the opposition a head start. It makes no sense whatsoever.
Yeah. It doesn't make any sense. Other points to make, following on from in the same sort of post-match spiel, I like that Rohit said, in the game against Bangladesh, it was tricky as well. But I thought we held our nerve that day, executed well, talking about pressure. And I did sort of think, like, they're quite different scenarios, aren't they?
He's gone off the deep end. He's off the deep end of that.
Well, there's the scenario where Bangladesh were well ahead of it and then their best batter fell over and got run out.
I assume that's what he's...
Is he comparing Josh Buttler and Alex Hales to Nazmul Hassan Shanto and Afif Hossain or something like that?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah,
It's
Yeah.
bonkers.
that is. I mean, Litton Das did bat well that day. He did. He did bat. You have to say that.
He lit the
but,
place up.
Oh, for crying out loud, Max.
I've
Final
been
thing.
waiting to say that for weeks.
Final thing I wanted to say, and this is to give myself credit more than anything, is that yesterday we were talking about who might win, and I said I thought India were probably the stronger team overall, but have more single points of failure. So if it goes wrong for Surya Kumar Yadav or it goes wrong for Bhuvi, then they don't really have anyone, or they don't have that many people to back them up, whereas England can sort of share the bowling around and can definitely share the batting around. And I think in the first innings we saw pretty good examples of that with Surya Kumar getting 14 off 10. That was a huge...
Hardik stepped up there.
Oh, yeah, Hardik did step up, but also like the way...
People forget people also forgot that he's like one of the elite T20 all-rounders. Like this tournament he's been talked about as if he's just a bog standard cricketer. Hardik Pandya bowls at 90 miles an hour near enough and has an unbelievably good strike rate in T20 cricket.
And he's had a really good year as well.
And has a great boundary percentage. Like people going to just go, no, I don't watch that much cricket. I'm just going to say that he's a very average all-rounder. Ridiculous.
Someone described Surya Kumar Yadav on comms as the new kid on the block the other day.
30,
That made me laugh.
32 now, yeah.
Yeah, 32.
Cool. Right, England's batting, they were good. Anything else?
I think it was just a great, like it was clinical, right? This was like Josh Butler kind of captaining the side. This was an unbelievably good innings from a captain, kind of opening up in a very, very high pressure game, right? And Hales coming into the side, like Rob Key is sitting there probably with a cigarette in his hand, a drink in the other. We're going, well, I'm really glad that I brought Alex Hales back into the fold. That huge for England.
Yeah, I mean, he was quality, wasn't he? And it's nice, I guess, nice to see him get the chance after all of the troubles that he's had. He was on one today. It was nice to see. I was impressed with the way Hales in particular played Axar and Ashwin when they came in, sort of in comparison to how Adil Rashid tied things down with the ball. And we were looking at the spinners for India to maybe be the ones that put the pressure on England in the chase and being the key to maybe making it tricky. And the way after a couple of balls, Alex Hales was able to sort of use the angle from Axar and get down the sweep and use those short boundaries, I thought was really impressive and really good thinking cricket that enabled them to stay on top of India once they'd got the head start.
I wondered as well whether it was Hardik's innings not counterproductive for India, because that's clearly not. It clearly wasn't counterproductive, but
it showed England how good it was.
Everybody else had been like, batting like it was a complete minefield and trying to play very orthodoxy. And Hardik came in and was just like, I'm going to smash it over mid wicket.
That's a 50 metre boundary.
Yeah, this pitch is good enough that you don't have to. You can just hit across the line and it will fly. And that's basically what Hales and probably to a slightly lesser extent, but still basically the same game plan from Butler. That's what they did. They weren't trying to cover drive the ball through extra and stuff like that. It was square of the wicket, hit it in the air, and it will go in the crowd.
Anything just slightly back of a length, not even like half trackers or short balls, anything slightly back of a length was disappearing square, wasn't it?
Yeah. Was it 7 sixes for Hales?
Yeah.
Not too bad, is it? Like, how many sixes did India hit a six? Yeah, well, obviously Hardik did. Yeah,
they hit 7. They hit as many.
Same number as Hales. Yeah, devastating. Really, really good. You forget sort of how good he is, Hales, don't you? His
all the stuff,
because of all the stuff. Yeah, he's excellent. I was really disappointed afterwards that they didn't make him stand next to Owen Morgan again. I thought because he'd won man of the match that they were going to line him up and it was going to be take 2. But
no, they just got someone very quickly to run in and give him the trophy and run off again.
Yeah, they did. Yeah. Pretty funny. I mean, I think it was very good from England. There is an element, and I'd be interested to hear your take on this, Dan, see what you have to say. But I think there is an element of just sort of running into 2 very, very good T20 openers, not starting particularly well with the ball, not getting the help, not having any swing, not having any scoreboard pressure, not having a leg spinner, that meant that after Butler had faced about 10 balls, it was like, oh, this could get really nasty for India here. And we forget, everyone's been so caught up in Surya Kumar Yadav that I think people have forgotten that Josh Butler, is right up in that category too. Like Josh Butler had an out of this world IPL, 6 months ago? And I know Surya Kumar Yadav has been destroying international cricket and he has been great, but they're very close, 1 and 2, probably in world cricket. And today, Joss Buttler won the Butler Sky Derby. Dan,
the Derby, yeah. Look, what the original question was now? But
sometimes it just happens, doesn't it? Like it does. If you don't start right on the money or don't get a little bit of luck, then Buttler and Hales can basically kill any bowler.
That's it. Look, you've got a scenario where, this is brutal maths, basically. But, if you look at before the match starts, there'll be, let's say that it's 50-50 between the two teams before the match starts, right? That you know for a fact it's 50-50. And then out of those 50% you've got a chance of winning, there'll be different outcomes of that 50% that have a various chance. So, a last baller might be a 1% chance, and 10 wicket victory might be 0.5% chance or something like that. And that happens. That's just one of, you run this match 100,000 times in a simulator, or poor players having to do it 100,000 times, but it probably wouldn't come up very often.
They're moaning about the volume of cricket now.
It wouldn't happen, this is even though there are amazing openers, this is still like a freak occurrence. And this is why I think it's quite, as much as I want to kind of, I feel like it's a humiliating loss for India. I really do. And I think that they're going to need to make a lot of changes, both structurally, tactically, and with selection as well. It's also kind of like,
you don't want to read too much into it.
Yeah, you can't overreact that much. But I also look at this India team now and I think, is it 2024 the next World Cup?
Yeah.
And I'm thinking to myself, I can only really see 4 or 5 of them playing. If they've got any sense, only 4 or 5 players in this team are going to play.
Well, Mohammad Shami, number 1 on this, because it'll get thrown in last minute.
Ashwin.
Yeah, got Ashwin.
He'll be coached by then.
Rohit's got at least a couple of years in the tank.
I'll bring Dhoni back as specialist captain.
I'll tell you what. As much as it's funny, MS Dhoni would have had more impact on this tournament than DK or Pandya.
He probably would have. Ross, England. Lots of people have been saying that this is one of England's great white ball wins. Do you agree or disagree? And I think that's with respect to Archer, Topley, Wood, David Malan, Bairstow, all being ruled out, and this is like when India went to the Gabba with their C team. This is what's happened today. England have brought a C team and they've turned over India. Is that right? I think it's right.
I think you're a little bit disingenuous there, just slightly riling up a few people. I think T20 and what. I agree with what Dan says, right? But it shouldn't be throwing the baby out with the bathwater, but there are some changes to be made. But this is T20 cricket. And I think on the Discord channel, I kind of said that England were a runaway truck today. And the India team were on a bicycle. And they literally could have done nothing with the collision that kind of happened to them. It is a really, really good performance from England. There was fortune, I think, at certain points in it where things slightly went England's way. But you have to perform in the big moments. And Joss Buttler and Alex Hales today, you're not going to get a bigger performance from an opening pair of a T20 game like that.
I think you're right. Right, so India are knocked out of the tournament. Is it 11 years now since their last win? Next World Cup's in India, so they've got a chance there. Let's talk about, before we move on to talking about England v Pakistan in the final, if you could make one change each to India, or what would you do if you were in charge? If you were Ganguly now, Max, what would you do? Would you Max down and then you?
In personnel wise,
yeah. Well, whatever. Do whatever you want.
Yeah. Well, it would be the openers.
Change the kit.
First thing you got to do. Gold kit. No, it's the openers. I think it's got to be. They've seen that the intent is the way to go. They've tried doing it. It almost worked. But I just think it's time to, I would say, make Hardik captain and bring someone in to replace Rohit Sharma. And then you've got an ultimatum with KL Rahul. Basically, bat properly or you're out.
Dan?
While I completely agree with Max, everything he said, I like the ultimatum point in particular. I can't make. If you only allow me one change, I would want to make too many to the team for it to be anything to do with the starting 11. So I'm going to go structural instead, and I'm going to say that similar to English cricketers who are not centrally contracted, the BCCI should give automatic NOC to any Indian player who is not in international contention and is not playing in the domestic season at that point in time to go and play
in the 100.
Yeah, I think that's a good one. Someone suggested that in the chat.
Develop the players who aren't going to be like KL Rahul, because like you're going to find, if you, let's say for the sake of argument, Prithvi Shaw's the next cab off the rank, all right? I don't know if he is in the India selection mind or not, but in my mind he should be. Imagine if he goes to the 100, he's like, well, I've got 20 balls less here, and I'm going to have to play even more intentful. And then he comes and does that in the Indian national team afterwards, because he's got the experience of doing that in another league first. Look at England this year, right? I haven't counted, and I would imagine it's well over 50 English players are playing franchise cricket right now. That can only be good for the national team. And I look at India and I think they're like the equivalent of Mitchell Starc. The game has evolved away from them.
And they don't play it enough.
Because they haven't played, yeah. You can't, like Mitchell Starc, he's unbelievable bowler. When he played in the IPL, he was so good. And yet, he hasn't played any domestic T20 matches since 2015, at home or abroad. So it's not difficult to see how the format evolves away from you. I mean, you stand still for one season in T20 and you're in big trouble. Do it for 7 years or 10 years or however long you want it to be. That's a major problem. So for me, it's got to be about creating a structure so that this doesn't happen again. Because if you've got the world's biggest playing pool and the world's most talented playing pool, 11 years without winning this trophy is a really serious indictment of your strategy.
Leg, what do you think?
Sanju Samson has to be the one, doesn't he?
Magic bullet.
Just ultimately, I think I'd make Hardik captain. Sanju would be my wicketkeeper in that lineup. That would be the big change to make. But yes, they've been a bit unfortunate with Bumrah being out, but their bowling lineup is still decent. But Sanju,
yeah,
always the RR man.
It's been pointed out to me as well by Anand that Ganguly is no longer BCCI president and that he is in fact team doctor. So,
Dr. Ganguly.
Dr. Ganguly. So my mistake on that one. I would get them to select. I don't know. They should have picked Chahal today. That's what I think.
Yeah.
I don't think it would have made any difference in the end, but rigidity of thought is what they've got to overcome. Having said all of that, they've only lost 2 matches in the tournament.
Yeah, I mean, on another day they could have lost.
Yeah, when Matt Roller came on here, he said he made a pretty good point. He said that if you're one of the big teams in the World Cup, your objective is to reach the semi-final, and then from there, anything can happen. Like there's no rhyme or reason. People are like, "Oh, Pakistan are brilliant again now." So Pakistan played one good game against New Zealand when New Zealand played their worst game of the tournament, and today India played their worst game of the tournament when England played by far their best. England have been pretty poor in some of their matches. It's just, it's Ross, your point. It's a truck against a bicycle. But on another day, India, they're in the truck.
But if you do get there enough times and consistently fail, then you do have to think about what the underlying causes are. That's
true, right. Quickly, let's have some thoughts on the final. It's England v Pakistan. I described this in our last show, Max. You'll remember this. That England have got narrative behind them now, and that's what's important in cricket. Narrative. The narrative was India v Pakistan is going to be in the final, but then actually England supplanted that with the spoiler narrative. That we're going to come in, we're going to ruin what the world wants, India v Pakistan, and then we're going to ruin the second thing the world wants, which is a Pakistan miracle comeback victory. It did get pointed out to me that not everybody in India wants that. But the spoiler narrative is on. Dan, what should we look out for in the final, and what way do you think it's going to go? And is it all going to be a joke because it's going to rain at the MCG?
Well, isn't there reserve day anyway? I think.
Yeah, it's going to rain that day as well. Actually,
Yeah.
more rain for the reserve day.
What do you do? Is there like a bat flip or something?
No, they just share the trophy.
No.
Indoor, it's got to be an indoor bowl off or something.
Well,
Maybe
no,
they should go down.
they share
Maybe
the
they should go
trophy.
down sixes and see who gets the highest score.
They get a share
Can we
trophy.
work out on net boundary percentage? That's fair.
Net run rate. England's big win against India today gives them the trophy.
Best performance against teams ranked below 8th in the world.
Yeah. No, I mean, look, let's assume the game's on, assume it's normal conditions or whatever. Look, Pakistan are not gonna do. The Pakistan's bowlers are not gonna have this route from Hales and Butler that India's bowlers have had today. Pakistan's bowlers are extremely high quality. I would go as far as to say better than the Indian bowlers, especially without Bumrah as a group. I mean, and I can see a completely different match actually. And look, the other challenging element of it is, I mean, we've seen today the impact of KL Rahul, Rohit Sharma, and Virat Kohli scoring 83 off 73 balls. Right? If Babar and Wan and Sham Masood do that, they're playing right into England's hands. So Pakistan have got to have more of a 180 or 120 mentality than this. Okay, we're going to just go and get 160 and trust our bowlers.
Yeah, that makes sense. So who's going to win?
Do you know what? All right.
He's going to say Pakistan.
Yeah. Yes, because Dan pretends like he doesn't support England by not wearing the shirt and not support the flag, but he actually does. And the way he's hedging here against his emotions, because now he can say, I always thought Pakistan were going to win, so he wins there. Or he can, get another tattoo of England with Josh Butler's face.
A lion as opposed to a tiger.
Yeah, how about this? A lion with Josh Butler's face.
No chance.
Livingston's face?
No chance.
Mo and Ali's face.
No chance.
Matt,
Someone's face.
Ross, what do you think is going to happen?
happens.
It's the final, it's the big one, the MCG, pretty full of Pakistan fans, you'd imagine. What did the Pakistan coach say? I can't remember. The translation is something like, we got there because of luck and divine intervention, or something like that. It wasn't anything to do with skills. Is divine intervention going to come for Pakistan on Sunday?
Don't know.
Brilliant.
Oh, well,
That's why we play on the big bucks.
that's the cricket podcast, everyone.
Yeah,
Thanks for joining.
I don't know. I think England have already played against them 7 times in the last month and a half.
And then we did a warm up against them in Australia as well.
Yeah, we won that. So this will be the best of 9 almost.
And
it was pretty close. But that was England. That was England's C team that was going up against them, and they were pounding them in some of those games. What was it you said, Jack? That was the least close 4-3 you've ever seen.
Yeah, it was 4 pretty easy wins and 3 tight wins the other way.
Yeah,
go on.
On the occasion, there is the Mohammed Nawaz redemption arc, and that's what I'm really worried about. Fundamentally, that could be the divine intervention point. The him losing the game for Pakistan against India, and now it comes full circle for Mohammed Nawaz to win it for them. But I can see that happening.
Maximus?
For me, it's the Jack gambling narrative arc. So obviously we discussed that Pakistan were 50-1 to win when they were going into the final round of the Super 12s with needing the Netherlands or Zimbabwe to do them a favour and them to beat Bangladesh. And we decided that Jack should put money on it because we worked out that the odds were far lower than 50-1 in reality. But he didn't put money on it, which means that Pakistan are guaranteed to win. If he had put money on it, England will be romping home. But as it is, that narrative suggests that it should be Pakistan. But how can you possibly not say England are going to win after watching that performance? Although, in fairness, Pakistan did obliterate New Zealand similarly. So, there's that. But I mean, the recency bias of seeing those two, Hales and Butler, absolutely pound.
Do you know what I think?
It's just given me too much hubris.
Do you know what I think? I think this is England v Germany 2014 World Cup. Not England v Germany. Germany v Brazil, and Brazil are going to be played by Pakistan. They're going to be a bit too emotional about the occasion. They're going to lose in cricket terms 7-1 to England, who are like Germany, ruthless efficiency.
Right. Okay.
There's a couple of football analogies actually for this.
Yeah, go on.
Okay. The way that Pakistan celebrated beating New Zealand yesterday with all their players doing laps of honour, it reminded me, what's your like this? It reminded me of Tottenham after they beat Ajax in the Champions League semi-final. And it didn't go too well for them in the final.
Yeah, it was our final, right? It was our final. That was the best moment I've ever had as a Spurs fan, so don't take that away from me.
100%.
Yeah. No one wanted that to happen, though, did they? That's the thing.
Also, we go back to, I was thinking about that Germany-Brazil game earlier on. Was it like 7-1 or something like that?
Yeah.
I reckon today's match was like that. That's
okay.
England with Germany and India with Brazil in terms of not necessarily the emotion side of things, but being the big team, the most hyped team. Everyone's got massive expectations for, traditionally, winning a lot of trophies and stuff like that, and then go out and basically get destroyed
By modern cricket.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, look at the game, right? If it was a football game, you might say England were like 1-0 up at half time, or it was 0-0 or something like that. They're going to go and romp out and be like 6-0 winners in the end.
Was it 1-0 Germany in the final?
What, against Argies?
Argentina.
Yeah.
Marco Reus, wasn't it?
Who plays Messi from Pakistan's point of view? We need to know this. Shaheen Afridi, left armour, left footed.
Yeah.
Could be.
We'll go Shaheen. Yeah.
Shadab Khan does a bit of everything.
I can't remember who played centre mid for them at that point. Mascherano. Was he in the
side? Good. Right, we've got a handful of questions to get through quickly, then we'll wrap up. VJ says on our Discord, which you can join. We haven't mentioned Patreon. Patreon.com/thecricketpod. Get involved for bonus stuff, and like and subscribe on YouTube. We didn't say that at all, did we? An error. The objective today is to not lose subscribers. I think it's.
Yeah.
I think is. Hopefully, I might need a few people to balance it out. But let's see. The question from VJ is: how hard is it to make a podcast on such a day, considering your predominantly Indian audience? Is it harder or easier compared to, let's say, England losing the Ashes? Ross, what do you think? Is it hard to make a podcast on a day like this?
I've really enjoyed it.
And what I'd say, like a lot of our listeners, I don't know why this is, but we have more people from the UK listen to the podcast. On YouTube, it tilts towards India, but I'm expecting we'll get thousands, millions of people across the UK listening to the podcast. Dan?
The whole UK.
Dan, has it been hard for you talking about England's victory?
I've thoroughly enjoyed it.
Max, what about you?
It's a different experience because our bread and butter is having a go at England and moaning about how shit they are. I suppose mostly in the test arena, less so with the T20s. So it's a bit of a change of pace to have to praise them, which not something I'm generally.
Well, what we've managed to do is spend most of the last 45 minutes, probably 40 of the 45 minutes, actually criticising India. So
criticism, like I say, it's our bread and butter. So as long as there is someone to criticise deeply, then I'm comfortable.
Okay, right. Questions from Twitter. So thanks for sending them in at the Cricket Pod if you want to get involved there. Abe says, how many of the current India squad should play in the next T20 World Cup? Dan, you said 4. Who are the 4?
Well, I would have Sirkimi Yadav, even though he's getting older. He's still an unbelievable player.
Old kid on the block.
Yeah, indeed. Hardik, Rishabh Pant, and Arshdeep Singh would be my 4 bankers.
Yeah.
Bumrah to come back.
No Kohli?
Well, no, because he's like... When's the next World Cup? 2014? He's going to be up 36.
That's all right.
Yeah, but he runs hard. He runs hard. Got to remember that. And intangibles. Runs hard and intangibles. Abe also says, just a general question, do you think head coaches should be given the responsibility of picking the squad or having designated selectors? Now, if that isn't a Dan Weston question, I don't know what is.
Okay, so, look... I don't think head coaches should pick squads. I said that when England gave the responsibility to Chris Silverwood. The reason is because it's not fair to ask a coach to watch enough cricket to be able to have an informed view on who they should be picking from the squad. This being a professional coach is an incredibly busy task. I also know a lot of coaches, and they're very busy guys, and you can't then expect them to watch the side Mushtaq Ali Trophy in like when there's 10 matches all on at the same time or something like that. Like you've got to have people who can help you and support you in that way, be it with a visual scouting point of view or a data point of view, ideally both. So no, I don't think they should pick the squads, and also because coaches can build personal relationships with players very easily in terms of having favoured players and what have you, that it leads itself to a lot of bias and sort of subjectivity as well. And I think that it should be a specialist recruiter, selector kind of person who is in charge of all that. I think England have got it right by advertising for a head of selector, and I'm actually kind of quite pleasantly surprised that England have done that, because I kind of expected it to be a bit of a closed shop. So that actually having advertised it is a real positive step, actually, I think.
I thought you were about to say, and I've actually got the job then.
That would be a good way of doing selection, though, kind of like a presidential campaign. I'd quite like that as a recruitment strategy.
What do you mean a presidential campaign?
Like this, we've got the inside scoop on Dan announcing his presidency campaign to be England selector. I think we should have different other podcasts getting other people on. Nick Knight gets done by Edges and Sledges. You've got James Taylor, the great cricketer, be like, isn't he small, but he's so great at cricket selection.
They go on TMS for like the grand debate with all of them in the same studio.
What's Dan Weston's tagline then?
No, I'm not.
Analysis matters.
I'm not in for that, Ralph.
Analysis matters is if that was on the side of a limo, of him getting out and the door opened, it would say anal matters. You don't want that.
Daddy,
For some people it does.
Daddy says after that lesson in T20 cricket from England. I love that. That's got nothing, not really got anything to do with the question, but he wants to get that in anyway. So after that lesson in T20 cricket from England, what do you think India's T20 11 should be moving forward? For him, only Sky and Hardik make the batting lineup, maybe one anchor for Kohli. Surely it's time to see Samson Shaw, etc. Maybe even Ishan Kishan. Ross, what's your India 11 for the T20 series that probably starts next week?
I've no idea. Can we not do one by one?
I love it when we do this. Yeah, okay. You pick first, then we'll do Max, then Dan, then me. We'll do around that. Right, so, number one, Ross, who are you picking?
Bumrah. I'm going 11.
No, well, you have to do it in batting order. You can't.
All right, I'm going to go. I'm going to say it. I love Prithvi Shaw, so I'm going to buy the hype of Max that he's put on here. Prithvi Shaw is my number one.
Okay, Max.
I'm going to stick with my ultimatum KL Rahul theory.
Ooh, King Legend. Dan.
Wow.
Yeah.
Just ruined it because I had all ready for you to go Kohli so I could go Pandya at 3, but now I've got to actually be fairly sensible and pick.
Oh no, you got two right-handers at the top there.
I like the idea of having a guaranteed left-right matchup at all of the first wicket. So
yeah, they did try opening with Pant, didn't they?
So
I'm happy to open with Pant. I'll be honest.
You've already selected.
I like him at 3.
Okay,
right.
so I've already forgotten who you picked, Max.
So we've got Shaw, KL, and Pant as the top 3.
Well, Surya Kumar Yadav, that's an easy one for me, isn't it? Ross?
Sanju Samson at 5.
Sanju Samson at 5, but lower down the order than normal. Max?
Hardik,
yeah, that makes sense. Dan?
This is where it gets really tricky.
Yeah.
is Jadeja fit?
Yeah, if he's fit, we'll have Jadeja.
You can have Jadeja. If Jadeja wasn't fit, and you have to pick a like for like, are you sticking with Akshar Patel?
You have to, because there's not really anyone else.
Shahbaz Ahmed?
I think 8 is the hardest one, isn't it? Let's be honest.
Yeah.
Here's what I would do. I would bring Harshal Patel back, but I'd stop pretending.
Lord.
I would stop pretending that he's a death bowler because there's no real evidence for this. He's very, very good, 7 through 15. Bowl him in the middle. Treat him like a spinner. He's Benny Howell. He's India's Benny Howell, and he can bat. So I'm having 8. I'm having Harshal back in. Ross?
Nice. 9. I think I like having a leg spinner. So Yuzi Chahal is the person I'd pick. And if he's injured, obviously Kuldeep Yadav.
Max?
Well, it'll be Bumrah.
Okay. And I think we know where Dan's going to finish with.
Arshdeep, of course.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah.
However, I make a point about we talked about the left arm spinner debate.
Mm-hmm.
I am India. I am doing everything that I can to get Saika Shaw to upskill his batting.
Who? Sorry?
Saika Shaw.
Oh, Saika Shaw, cool.
Mm-hmm.
I know that my models tell me this kid's a superstar, and I've spoken to people who've been in squads with him.
Is he the one who got like an economy rate of about 4 in the Smash?
Yeah. Like, I know that at CSK, I spoke to someone who played for CSK and about him, and they said he would walk into any other IPL team that didn't have Jadeja already in the team as a left arm spinner. And I mean, he really didn't play that much. Was it for Gujarat last year? I think it was.
Yeah, Almeida Bad Boys. Yeah.
Yeah, but then
4 or 5 times.
Played pretty well. He can bat. I want to get him. If you're working on his power hitting, he could be that 7 or 8 left arm spinner for India.
Okay. Right. Final question from Sands: is Dravid's influence as coach a hindrance as he's a Test match specialist? Ross, you can do the last question and then we'll wrap up.
Sorry, say that again.
All right. Is Dravid's influence as a coach a hindrance as he's a Test match specialist?
So I do like the split that England have done, and I think that India probably have to follow that as well. They're fundamentally 2 different games now, I think, and you have to treat them as such. I don't think you can have a single ruler of the universe. I think you have to have specialists in that space. Rahul Dravid, I'm sure he's a really good coach, but is he what India need in the T20 setup? Probably not.
Cool. Right, we're done. Thank you very much for watching and listening. Our next show will be after the T20 World Cup final between England and Pakistan.
Could be Sunday, could be Monday.
Could be Sunday, it could be Monday. Maybe it'll be Tuesday, and we'll be talking about sharing.
The
value of sharing. Cricket socialism.
Better not be rained off because I'm going on holiday on Monday.
Are you? Oh, well.
So
You're always on bloody holiday. Being a cricket analyst, you've got to be paid very, very well. This boy, he's...
In all fairness, it was one of an objective for the year because obviously with COVID and stuff like that, I've been able to go away for like 2, and I hadn't gone away in 2019 either. So I was like, right, this year I'm going to make the most out of it.
Cool. All right, thanks everyone. Goodbye.
Bye.